I have a maytag Atlantis dryer and changing from 4-prong to 3-prong. The 4-prong had a green wire screwed to the left of the terminal block, grounding it to the frame. Now that I only have 3 wires, neutral and the 2 hot wires, I'm trying to figure out where to ground it.
I'll do all I can to help. How long have you been dealing with this?
2 days.
Do you plan on doing the work yourself?
Yes.
Anything else we should know to help you best?
We have a number 10 copper wire we were told could ground between the neutral and the grounding. But before we added, I wanted to make sure that was correct.
Hello. Welcome to Just Answer. Please stand by while I review your question. I will post again momentarily. If you are able to post a photo of the dryer's terminal block, I can give you more specific instruction. However, you may not need to post a photo after looking at this website. It shows the basic connection configurations for both 3-wire and 4-wire cords.
I feel like I've looked at every website and either they show a grounding green wire attached to the dryer itself, screwed to the grounding screw, or says we don't need a grounding strap at all. Let me know if you receive the photo. This is the new cable I have.
Ideally, with a 3-conductor cord setup, you should use the grounding strap method so the chassis of the appliance is referenced to a grounded conductor. This way, if a live wire inside the unit ever touches the frame, the breaker will trip as designed, rather than energizing the entire frame with electricity. I will check out your photos now.
This is the old cord. I don't see anywhere to connect a wire to the grounding input on the left where the old green wire went. We read we should get a number 10 white and connect the neutral to the grounding like this.
Thank you for posting the photos. They are very helpful in assessing the situation. If you look at the metal plate that the plastic terminal bar is attached to, there are symbols above and left to the center of the terminal block, and below to the right. Those are grounding symbols, meant to receive the green wire in one of the pre-drilled holes. If you have a sheet metal screw that will thread into one of those holes, you can curl a piece of number 10 green wire around the screw on one end, and connect the other end of the same green wire to the center post on the terminal block. If you need a piece of green wire and don't have any, you can cut it out of the old 4-prong cord. That would give you a loop on one end for easier termination to one of the screws that the wire jumps between.
Will our number 10 wire, pictured, work? And then we would obviously do the same to the other side. Then connect this from the left hole where the previous green wire was connected, to the middle neutral input. Like in this photo? Obviously we would have it more secure, but just to make sure this is what you mean.
Yes, that piece of wire will work fine. Just make sure it doesn't touch either of the outer posts, since it is bare for its entire length. Also, if it was already in use in the dryer previously, it's most likely number 10 gauge, which is required for the ground wire on electric dryer circuits. The last photo is an acceptable connection on both ends of the bare wire, assuming the cover has a slot or raised area to allow for the ground wire to pass through.
Okay, we don't want to risk it touching, and once the cover is on, Terry's no pass-through, so we will just cut the green wire from the 4-prong cord. On the neutral screw, should the new grounding wire be before or after the wire connected to the plug? The middle of the 3 wires. Obviously the other end of the green will be attached to the frame on the far left, but this is what I'm referring to. If it can fall before or after the gray wire,
I would put the wire from the cord over the post first, and then the end of the green jumper. It would be best to have a washer between the two wires on the middle post. Does each post only have one nut to thread onto it?
The middle has the one that's screwed in currently, then the one has holding. Could we use this loop as a washer between the two wires if it's not connected to anything? We have a whole box of them.
Okay, great. I would remove the nut that's on the middle post now, making sure the two wires behind it stay in place. I would add the middle wire from the cord, then put that nut back onto the post. Then use this second nut that he's holding to secure the end of the green jumper wire to the middle post. That way, all wires on the middle post have compression against them to hold them in place, and we never stack two wires directly on top of each other, unless they have those little loops crimped onto the ends. Your green jumper will not have that on one end. You will need to strip, tightly twist, and then curl one end of the green jumper. If you have a washer, put that over the stripped end of the jumper before putting the second nut on the post. You can use the loop as a washer, that's fine. I would cut the insulated barrel end off, so it's more like a traditional washer. If you have a wire crimper, you can crimp one of those loops onto the stripped end of the piece of green wire from the cord, which you are using to make the grounding jumper. That's a better connection than curling stranded wire around a screw. Often, stranded wire doesn't cooperate very well with being wrapped around a screw and having a nut tightened down on it. It sometimes wants to fray. Washers help with this to an extent.
Great. And just to be extra thorough, when we attach this end to the grounding input, do we need to do anything special besides screw it and secure with a nut? We will attach a loop on the cut end of the green wire rather than wrapping the stripped end around unless you think differently.
The loop that is placed over the hole is fine with a screw through it into the hole. Attaching a loop is my preferred method with stranded wire, rather than wrapping the post.
Great, so just to go over it again because I'm terrified of being electrified. 1. We are cutting the green wire from the old 4-wire plug and securing a loop on the stranded end. 2. Attaching the 3 wires from the new cords to their respective screws. The center one we will unscrew ray current nut and reattach the nut on top of the center wire. 3. Attach one end of the green wire which now has loop on both ends, on top of the center nut. Then put another nut on top. 4. The other end of the green wire will now be attached to the grounding screw on the far left.
Yes, that's all correct. I don't get as picky about not stacking wires when there are loops crimped onto the ends. It's when the wires are directly curled around posts that I don't like to stack them. That usually yields a less than suitable connection, which is what causes electrical problems. By crimping a loop on, you'll be all set.
Great, thank you for all your help. We are going to give it a go and hopefully it turns on. I'm going to keep the chat open if that's okay while we attach all the wires in case I have another question. I'd hate to get another electrician and have to explain it all over.
No problem at all. I'm glad I was available to help. You can keep the chat open as long as you like. I appreciate hearing that my customers were ultimately successful anyway.
Once this is crimped, is it okay not to have the yellow piece? It was difficult to get the wire through it with it on.
Sure, that's okay. Just don't let it touch anything nearby. It really isn't big enough to contact anything you wouldn't want touching it anyway. With the distance between the posts, it's a non-issue.
Great, Thanks, tell we aren't electricians? Actually, this is our first home and first time having to install one ourselves, and all the information on the internet can be unspecific. We are attaching the wires. Thanks for sticking around while we navigate this.
Happy to help. And congratulations on your first home. I appreciate the opportunity to be a very small part of getting you settled in. I'll be here for any future electrical or home improvement questions, should the need arise. You guys don't need to be electricians, that's why we're here. I have been in the electrical trade full-time for 25 years. I enjoy sharing my experience with people who need help.
Okay. Husband dropped the second nut down the back of the dryer. And number 55357 semicolon and number 56872. Now that there is a loop on the green wire, is it okay to put it directly on top of the gray center wire or with the washer in between the two? Then the one remaining nut we have on top of them? Hes attempting to grab it with a magnet, but just in case I wanted to check.
Yes, that'll be okay. Any situation where all wires have loops on them and are securely fastened will be fine. The loops help tremendously in getting tight connections. I have stacked loops before when I don't have enough hardware to put between them. It's not a big deal. I just don't stack curled wire on top of curled wire, or anything else. By the way, the horrified emoji didn't show up in the conversation thread, but it did show up in my email link to this chat. Nicely played.
Ha! Well, now he is being extra careful, so hopefully we have no more mishaps.
I'm sure he'll have the dryer up and running in no time.
Okay, this is the setup we have. The green wire wasn't long enough to thread through the hole on top.
That'll work just fine. The cover can pinch the wire and it won't cause any issues.
Okay, it's all plugged in and isn't working. Not sure what the issue could be. With the dryer itself, our outlet, or our connections? Actually, it looks like it does. Just had it on the wrong setting.
That's great news. I was about to ask you if you had a voltmeter.
No voltmeter, but it seems to work fine. Thanks so much for all your help.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit justanswer.com/ythi.